Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide. Here with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And be sure to smash that like button as well. We really appreciate the support and the conversation here on Saturday morning and on Sunday night. The Dolphins take down the Cincinnati Bengals here today by the score of 19-7. Wasn't the prettiest game. There were a lot of fights. There was some spearing of Jakeem Grant. The Dolphins had 7 penalties in the first half. But, Paul, when we do the show next week against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is supposed to be a big matchup for the Dolphins in Miami, that could really start to put them over the top. It's going to be one loss for the Dolphins in a span of about 70 days.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add to that too, at least one thing I've seen since the game got over that I missed during the game was Solomon Kindley got his ankle stomped by one of the Bengals.
I saw that
as well. All kinds of fun in this one. It seems to be a theme when Miami faces the Bengals. I mean, even going back to the Brian Cox, Pete Stoyanovich game, way back in the 90s at this point. That also saw Vesti Jackson almost get into it after getting dragged around by the face mask. Just a lot of dirty silliness in this one. But you know what? I have to say, I love the way the Dolphins came out after the half and responded in this one. I love the fight that they showed in this one, no pun intended. And I love seeing Brian Flores, when Jakeem Grant got decked, go running across that field to let them know exactly how he felt about the situation.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting things in this. And, yeah, the Tyler Boyd, Xavier Howard back and forth, I don't know if those required ejections. I thought they were stupid moves by both people. But I thought that should have just been maybe penalized and let go. I didn't think he had to eject them out of the game. In fact, it actually probably hurt the Bengals more than the Dolphins on that, because Tyler Boyd catches a 72-yard touchdown with 3 minutes left in the first quarter, gets by Byron Jones. Kind of just a well-designed play by the Bengals there. And Tyler Boyd takes it 72 yards. But after that, the Bengals don't score a touchdown the rest of the game. They don't score a point the rest of the game after that.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know I told you this off the air. I know I said it during our Saturday morning show. In the first quarter, the Tyler Boyd got that 70-plus yard touchdown, and Sarah here got a little worried, and I said to her, "Don't worry." She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "I said it on the show Saturday morning. Granted, I said it was going to be T. Higgins, but I knew they were going to have one get away, and then that was it." And sure enough, that's how it went for the Bengals offense today. Who you look at the second half, they went negative yardage in the third quarter, and I think they ended the second half with something like 25 yards in the second half total.
Yeah, it was pretty ugly after that Tyler Boyd touchdown. When Brandon Allen connected with Boyd for that touchdown, at that time, Brandon Allen was 8 for 11 for 113 yards and a touchdown. The rest of the game, between Brandon Allen, Ryan Fidley, and Boyd throwing a pass, they were 9 for 16 for 80 yards and 2 interceptions. So the last 54 minutes of that game for the Bengals on offense was pretty bad. And running the ball, they didn't do much better. I mean, Giovanni Bernard was getting stopped all game. I mean, it was just a mountain to run through between Raekwon Davis, Zach Sealer, and Christian Wilkins. So really up front, the game kind of went how we expected it to there. And we'll get back to that in a second. But before we do, there were some fights. There were some ejections. And look, I thought Jakeem Grant wanted to die at a certain point for all those punts that he was trying to field. But of everything that happened, Sean Williams for the Bengals is a steaming pile of human garbage for what he did in this game twice. Now, not only did he step on Solomon Kindley's leg and stop when he's on the ground, they both went to Georgia. I mean, they weren't teammates at the same time, but they went to the same school. And then on the other one, he punched somebody in the face. He punched Devontae Parker in the face, and how he wasn't ejected or penalized for that is mind blowing to me. So I hope Sean Williams tears his ACL next week, and a whole bunch of horrific nonsense happens to him too. I will root for his failure for the rest of his stupid NFL career.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily blame Devontae for taking a few swipes back, even though
No, I
you want
don't.
to try to maintain your composure, especially given the fact that they were cheap shotting Devontae early and often in this game. Their game plan to handle Devontae Parker seemed to be throw him to the ground before the ball's in the air, and then hit him every chance you get, even when it's not a legal thing. Which seemed to be an odd choice of way. I mean, Devontae drew, I think, 2 pass interference penalties, and it could have been more in the first half. They drew 2 penalties against Devontae on the same play on that interception that came back after the corner threw Devontae to the ground, and then another guy speared him in the back after the interception when he got up. I mean, that is Bush League football. I'm sorry. It's, what was it, Mike Williams for the Bengals that trucked Jakeem twice there,
And Mike
including
Mike Thomas, yeah.
Mike Thomas. The fact that he trucks him like he did, spearing him with the helmet on the first one, and then just annihilating him before the ball gets there on the second one, and his teammates are high-fiving him on the sideline for it after the fact.
Yeah,
That is a loser mentality to be high-fiving your guy for getting penalized for pasting a guy illegally.
yeah, when you're losing and you're 2-9 and 1. That's and I gotta say again, you know how you said last week, Jakeem Grant probably played the smartest game as a punt returner you've ever seen.
Yeah.
This was the stupidest game he's ever played, because he should have called fair catch at least 3 times. I'm not saying he deserved to get speared, but man, that was not a good situation there. So anyway, now that we're past all that, Tua comes back, and man, I'm glad he played this game, because I did not want him to see him go into Kansas or play Kansas City and Miami next week on the bench for 2 weeks, and Ryan Fitzpatrick had won 4 games in a row if he had started here today. But he goes 26 for 39, 296 yards, a touchdown, quarterback rating of almost 100. Yeah, he had some balls that probably should have been picked off. And he had one that was called back, interception that was called back, but that's when Devontae Parker also got mugged. But I'll tell you what, Bengals or no Bengals, Tua put the ball in some really tight windows today. And that's what I wanted to see. He stepped up in the pocket. You remember that one pass in the third quarter. There were a lot of passes in the third quarter that were special that he made. One was when it was an all-out blitz. He saw through it. He stepped up in the pocket, put that ball in a really tight window to Devontae Parker for about a 10-yard gain. And then, but Parker almost, he got it to him so quickly. Parker almost got up and ran for a touchdown for that too. He and Mike Gesicki were on the same page all day. The RPO was working. So even though the Dolphins only scored 19 points, a lot of that had to do with how ineffective they were in the red zone, not necessarily ineffective moving the ball.
Yeah, and I have to say, going back to Tua and Mike Gesicki, Tua and Devontae Parker, I saw something from Tua in this one that I hadn't seen yet this year, and I loved it. It was, you saw a couple weeks ago Ryan Fitzpatrick on the sidelines talking to Tua about trusting his guys, throwing them open, even if they don't look open. Sometimes they really are. And in this game, you saw Tua suddenly trusting Gesicki to go up and get the ball, suddenly trusting Devontae to go up and get the ball in a way that we haven't seen from him yet. So you can see the growth, you can see the learning here. And God, it's I wish Tua had gotten that next 4 yards to get his first 300-yard game in this one.
Yeah, me too. And if the Dolphins play the Chiefs next week, and if the Dolphins can win that football game, and actually the game's going on right beside me, I mean it's 10 minutes left in the game here. The Chiefs are up by 3 at home against Denver. I mean, this, you know, this is a game that changes things if you win it. I mean, Dolphins are 8-4 right now. They're not going to have a losing season, but you beat the Chiefs next week, things change. And especially if we can say at the end of the game that Tua went in there, or not went in there, because they're playing in Miami. Tua takes down Patrick Mahomes in Miami. Man, oh man, you're starting to talk about not the 9-7 prediction for the season that I'm still holding, but you're talking about 11 or 12 wins. Then that's the way I'm going to start thinking if you can beat the Chiefs next week.
Yeah, and the Chiefs are struggling mightily against Denver as we speak. So I mean, it's the Chiefs look a little bit human right now. So it's if Miami can band together like they did today, I don't see why you can't. If their defense can play like they did today, you can go in and you can go toe to toe with just about anybody.
Yeah, you bet. And when you look at the personnel for the Dolphins offense, really on both sides of the ball, and you look at the Dolphins rookie class now, you've got Tua that threw for almost 300 yards. Jesse Davis did not start this game at any of the 5 line positions. They started all 3 rookies, which I'd love to see. Austin Jackson, Robert Hunt, Solomon Kinley all start along the offensive line. Raekwon Davis continues to be a great run defender, play 35 snaps a game. Jason Strowbridge gets rotated in there. Brandon Jones came in for Eric Rowe when he got hurt, had a heck of a game. Noah Igbenogany even gets on the field when Xavier Howard goes down, plays 18 snaps, largely defends AJ Green, and doesn't allow a pass received. I mean, it's exciting when you look at the youth and how much youth they had today out there against the Bengals. And it was not an overly impressive win. It was an ugly game. They had 7 penalties, but it's great to have this young of a team. We're still sitting here at 8-4.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was laughing at one of our listeners said if you hate the Bengals, hit that like button.
I don't hate the Bengals. I hate Sean Williams, stupid idiot. I hope.
And Mike Thomas is right up there with him at this point. But yeah, no. Jesse Davis coming in was critical after Flowers went down. Flowers' injury looked ugly. It really, truly did. I really hope he's okay because he has been stout for us. And actually, that does lead me to one of our listeners did ask the question, and I'll throw it to you first here. Do you think that the offense suddenly clicking could be attributed to that no huddle or to Eric Flowers going out and what they did on the offensive line at that point?
That's a great question. I think it's definitely the no huddle and the motion they were using with Jakeem Grant and Lynn Bowden. If Chan Gailey does not understand what to do moving forward with using those wide receivers in motion, I can't help him. And if you're going to, and when you play the Chiefs next week, you're going to see wide receivers in motion the entire game. So you better know what to do. And when they got into the no huddle and when they started using that motion, things started to open up. That's where Tua is at his best because he can make quick decisions and he can spread the field horizontally as the game goes on. Yeah, I mean, Eric Flowers, I don't think it had any additional benefit with him being out. He did miss a block early on that could have really hurt, though.
He did. And really, I think that no huddle was absolutely critical for the Dolphins. I'm very curious to see how it comes out during the week, and I know you and I have talked about this off the air, whether or not Tua was calling his own plays periodically throughout that. I mean, I know he's got the option plays where he can make a few decisions, but in reality, I'd be very curious to find out if Tua was making some of those calls as they went to that hurry up. The one thing I will say here, though, too, and you and I talked about this, as good as it was once they got creative in that no-huddle hurry-up offense, is as bad as it was once they got within the 5-yard line. As bad as it was when they got into that short yardage scenario. Miami struggled with short yardage today, and the play calling got downright unimaginative. And I really hope that it's as obvious as to Chan Gailey and to Brian Flores watching the tape of this game how bad that play calling was. It looked like they suddenly went from having an open offense that was looking to take advantage of various things, create mismatches, use motion, to an offense that went, okay, check one of these three boxes, run up middle, fade, slant. There is nothing else we can do here in short yardage. And in reality, you saw early on if they had just checked in as eligible when they went for that goofy field goal thing on fourth and goal, how well it worked other than a technicality. You saw them able to move the ball at will. You saw them on an end around with Jakeem Grant be able to run the ball 20 yards, I think it was, on that play, maybe just under. But it felt like 40. You saw them when they put Lynn Bowden in motion. You saw them at times with Malcolm Perry a few weeks ago, with Lynn Bowden at times today. Some of the things that they can do, and I'm sorry, they've got Antonio Callaway too that they could get involved in the same way that they can with Bowden and Grant. So really, there's a lot they can do there, and they just didn't. But there was a lot of potential.
Yeah, when you look at the last quarter, I mean, what Jason Sanders kicked a 21-yard and a 19-yard field goal. They got stopped inside the 5-yard line, I think, 3 times in this game and had to kick a field goal. And you're exactly right. Those plays to Jakeem Grant that where he comes across the middle and Tua just chucks the ball at him and everybody gets credit for it. That is something that as the field continues to shrink, you should still continue to do. I don't want to see Chandler Cox on the field. Get him off. I don't. He serves no purpose. And I also don't like that the Dolphins suddenly, once they get inside the 10-yard line, they bring in a fullback and 2 tight ends and get completely unimaginative and ignore what got them there in the first place. So it was great to see Lynn Bowden on the field. It was great to see Jakeem Grant getting those end arounds. Chan Gailey started to get it a little bit more as the game went on, but they just need to keep up that creativity in the red zone.
They do. And I want to get to one of the comments we just got in the chat. I'm sorry, I missed the name. But basically, you said that the run game stunk. And I'm going to say, no, it didn't. And the run game up the middle stunk, but that's not what we have for running backs right now. We don't have a pound it between the guards and tackles running back, which is okay. It really, truly is. But we have some guys that can get things done. Myles Gaskin today ran well. Got really well involved in the passing game. Did well running the ball. Just in an obvious run situation, running up the middle, he's just not big and strong enough. And that's not to say that the run game sucks. It doesn't. He ran well. He was 10 yards short of 100 today, even when everybody knew he was getting the ball. So,
yeah, that's for sure. My only bad thing about it is that the fourth quarter, he had another fumble, and the Dolphins now in the last 2 games have, late in the second half, with the game in control, have put the ball on the ground now with 3 different running backs. That's what bothers me. But you can't discount what Gaskin did today. I mean, Myles Gaskin had 141 total yards on the ground. 141 total yards, 90 of them rushing, 51 receiving. To me, one of the plays of the game was when Myles Gaskin caught that 35-yard pass, because Tua rolled to the left. He was looking around. Gaskin got himself open, not only open, but open deep as a running back. He catches that 35-yard pass, gets down to the 8-yard line, and a couple plays later, Mike Gesicki has the ball in the end zone. After that, I said in the third quarter, if the Dolphins take the lead in this game, the game's over. Like the Bengals are not coming back. And when they went up 16-7, I really thought it was over. So, yeah, I mean, it was great to have Gaskin back, and nobody's harder on himself than him. He's got just this running back room in general has to stop putting the ball on the ground.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna dig Gaskin for this one. He hasn't shown a tendency to do that this year. It was just an unfortunate play, and really a great play by Von Bell on that one. I mean, to punch that ball out, it is what it is. I mean, hell, Callaway almost ripped the ball back out of the defender's hand at the end of that. So that would have been a pretty sweet little bit of retribution.
Yeah, it would have. And if Callaway wasn't smoking a joint in the first half of the play, he probably would have done more on that. But no, I think Callaway can be a weapon for them. And yeah, when Gaskin had that ball punch, I don't know if it was Jesse Bates or Von Bell, I can't remember. But yeah, he's certainly. I'm certainly glad to have him back. And speaking of other messed up plays, it was a game full of messed up plays. Um, what was it? Dolphins were down 7-0. And what do you know? Matt Hawk is taking a snap in the backfield, gets it, runs it into the end zone, powers his way in there. And Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt get flagged on the play for not reporting in. So lessons learned for the rookies here, but man, that would have been one of the plays of the year on special teams too.
It still is. I don't care if it counted or not. It was awesome. I mean, and Miami seems to go deep into their bag of tricks every year in their let's eliminate the Bengals from something contest. Last year they ran the other fake field goal with Sanders flipping the ball to Hawk. I think they just try to get Hawk in the end zone against the Bengals whenever they can, as often as they can, which I love to see. I love seeing weird guys score. Not just fat guys, but weird guys.
Just don't get Hawk injured because he's in the middle of a heck of a year. I mean, early in the game too? I think the Dolphins punted from their own 15. There was a fair catch at the 38, and then there was a penalty. So how many of these Matt Hawk punts where you flip the field by 60 yards all the time? No wonder why he's leading in the Pro Bowl voting. Jason Sanders also, just another day at the office, nails a 48-yarder, goes 4 for 4 kicking field goals. He's only missed one this year. So fantastic job by him too. So not the cleanest game, but there were, when you look at it individually, there were a lot of bright spots. They've got to clean up a couple of things. They had 7 penalties in the first half, and also they did not convert a third down until 1 minute left in the game. That's something that is not going to fly against the Chiefs next week.
Yeah, and I think they can clean that up. I mean, a lot of that has to do with something we already touched on, and just how downright unimaginative they got once they got in those short yardage, goal to go, 3rd and 1 scenarios. So I think it's definitely something they can clean up here. It doesn't take a lot to go, okay, we just need to get back to what we've been doing here.
You bet. So, Paul, let's take a look at the position-by-position grades here for this game. Starting out at quarterback, I thought Tua had a very good bounce-back game, and it looked very much in control, but I liked the rhythm he developed with Mike Gesicki. And even though Devontae Parker was pretty well covered by William Jackson, the two actually went to high school together. William Jackson and Devontae Parker, they had a really good matchup, and I thought Jackson, other than the penalties, got the better of him throughout the game. But I liked the rhythm he had with Mike Gesicki there too. I liked how Jakeem Grant and Lynn Bowden actually provided something for him in this game, and Gailey opened that up a little bit more. He did have some close calls again. I mean, for me, it's a miracle he doesn't have an interception on the air. And that one play where Von Bell knocked the ball, almost knocked the ball out of his hands. It was reversed, not a defensive touchdown, but an incompletion. That was a close call. You had 2 other passes that could have been picked that were also close calls. But overall, I mean, when you throw the ball 40 times and you're a rookie, that happens. Look what happened to Justin Herbert today. Got shut out by New England. So overall, I'm going to go with the B+ here for Tua.
I'm right there with you on the B+, and it's funny you mentioned the interception getting called back, the fumble getting called back. It's when you have there's one of those just weird things that happens with some of these players out there, where it just seems to be every time something goes wrong, there was something else that got screwed up. I don't know if it's like a luck stat or something like that that Tua should just have. But it seems like anytime he puts the ball in a position where it gets turned over, something happens that gets the play reversed. Something stupid happened on the play. This week it was, he threw an interception, but it's because Devontae Parker got thrown to the ground. Like literally thrown to the ground while the ball was in the air. So, it's, yeah, I mean, God, the good teams have things like this happen. The guy threw for 296 yards. He answered some questions. He showed progress today. I can easily give him the B plus here.
You bet. Looking at the running back spot, we talked about Myles Gaskin. I'm going to throw it back to you at running back.
So Gaskin had the majority of the plays from the running back position. We saw Bowden back there a little bit. We saw Laird get in once, I think, towards the end of the game. Chandler Cox, I'll give him an incomplete. But overall, I was going to give the running backs a B minus for the fumble, but really the receiving out of the backfield and the 51 yards that Gaskins added to his 90 yards on the day, I can give them a B. I'm not going to dig Gaskin for some bogus play calling at the goal line.
I'll stick with that B minus you had because of the fumble, because I was so mad that they fumbled again in the fourth quarter at running back. So that knocks it down probably from a B plus to a B minus. But welcome back, Myles Gaskin. He's going to be needed here down the stretch. One complaint I had about the usage is, Lynn Bowden gets a snap at running back, reverses field, takes the ball 11 yards, and we never see him do it again throughout the rest of the game. I hope that's shown a little bit more here in the upcoming weeks because he could be a very good movable chess piece. So I'm going to go with a B minus here. The receiving unit, again, like I said, Devontae Parker, I thought, other than drawing the two penalties, a little bit of a rough day against William Jackson, but I mentioned in our pre-show that they kind of have the same body type. They went to high school together, so they have some familiarity, and the jump ball was not working in the end zone toward Parker. That's okay. Gesicki, phenomenal day. Not only just, being that 1, 2, 3 catch guy. I mean, catch guy throughout the game. He caught 8 passes, and one of them, the one that actually put the Dolphins up 16-7, might be one of the catches of the year. I mean, that was Oronde Gadsden against the Jets back in the early 2000s type of catch. I mean, he threw one big paw out there and came away with it. So I hope other teams are paying attention there. So I'd like to see Antonio Callaway get a little bit more involved, but overall with how Gesicki performed, with how they were using receivers a little more creatively, I'll go with a B.
I'm gonna mirror you on the B here. I wish Jakeem Grant was just an inch or two taller. He would have had 100-yard day today on 3 receptions if he was. It's that one off his fingertips. While it was a little catchable if it was an inch or two shorter or he was an inch or two taller. That was a completion, probably not for a touchdown. I think he gets tackled, but again, it would have put him right in that 100-yard territory. Gesicki with his nine receptions in this one just looked on fire. You said it perfectly about that one-handed grab, and really he showed some dominance today, even though he did show he's not as physical as I wish he was, but that's not who he is. Smythe had a beautiful catch and run after the fact for a first down. And really, I love what we're seeing out of most of these guys. I saw a whiffed block that cost Miami by Shaheen. But overall, I can give him a B here. There was nothing that was an issue, really, per se.
Certainly. Offensive line, no sacks allowed on Tua. That's a big deal. Myles Gaskin, 21 carries for 90 yards on the ground. So once they started using receivers in motion, things were opening up in the middle of the interior of the offensive line. So that was a good thing, too. And you're starting 3 rookies. I mean, Eric Flowers goes down, but that shows the value of Jesse Davis. He gets it at right guard. They kick Solomon Kinley to left guard. Very admirable effort here. I think a lot more of it had to do with how bad the Bengals defensive line is. but still, they overall, I thought, had a solid game. I thought Austin Jackson, other than missing a block early that would have sprung Myles Gaskin for a touchdown that would have made it 7-7 early. Other than that, and a couple of penalties, I thought they had a solid day. So I'm gonna go, before looking at the all-22 film offhand, I'm gonna go with a B+.
Yeah, I was going to say Austin Jackson overall had a bounce back day. Ted Karras probably had his best game as a Dolphin in this one. Solomon Kinley was mauling people yet again, and so was Robert Hunt. I mean, they didn't allow a sack. The running back, Gaskin averaged 4.3 yards per carry. I don't know what more you can ask for from an offensive line. Yeah, they screwed up checking in when they were eligible on a gimmick play. That's the worst thing I can say about the line today. So for me, it can't be any less than an A-.
And they better get ready next week, because they're going to go up against Frank Clark and Chris Jones. It's going to be a big test for them with those big guys. On the defensive side of the ball, not a lot of pass rush early from the Dolphins defensive line in the first half. But man, did they bring it in the third and fourth quarter. I mean, not just the linebackers. Kyle Van Noy had 3 sacks. Shaq Lawson had 2, and Zach Sealer had 1. But Emmanuel Ogbah also nearly had a strip sack that was a defensive touchdown. But Ryan Finley and Brandon Allen did not have a chance as the game progressed. And the Bengals running game could never get it off the ground. Giovanni Bernard, I think, had a 10 and an 8-yard carry. But other than that, it was either no yards or a loss just about every single carry from that point forward. So I'm going to go with an A- for the defensive line.
Now the D-line. Yes, this was the game I've been waiting for from my fat guys up front. The fact that, the D-line contributed 3 sacks on the day. I'm counting Lawson as a D-lineman. The fact that they were stuffing plays in the backfield. The fact that they came out in the second half and really were critical in keeping these guys to negative yardage in the third quarter, and a huge portion of that keeping them to 25 yards in the second half goes to that D-line. This is going to be my first A of the day. I love what I see from Sealer. I love what I see from Wilkins. Even on the plays that they didn't necessarily get there in time, they were hammering the quarterback, and they were just mauling running backs. Giovanni Bernard had nowhere to run today.
You bet. And at linebacker, Kyle Van Noy gets 3 sacks on the day here, and now what a pickup he's been as an edge setter and somebody who's just the word opportunistic always comes to mind with Kyle Van Noy. Jerome Baker, I thought, had a really good game. I've been harping on him a lot lately, but I thought he got a lot better. Landon Roberts leaves the game with an injury. It's probably why we didn't stop that 4th and 1 there throughout the game, but there wasn't a lot other for them to do other than just keep things in front of them. They didn't have a big tight end threat. The Bengals, Drew Sample caught 7 passes for 40 something yards on dump offs, but that was about it. So I've got nothing bad to say about this unit. I'm going to go with an A- here for the linebackers too.
I'm going to go with an A. Yet again, I thought Jerome Baker played well. Munson had a stupid penalty early, but overall, I thought he did well. He also had a seek and destroy play before that blew things up in the backfield. Van Noy had 3 sacks on the day and was the reason Nick Needham got that interception to seal the game at the end there. He batted the ball away from the wideout on that play. And they were a big part in stopping the run today with Giovanni Bernard. I thought Jerome Baker had a decent game overall. And really, it's Van Noy had a very superhuman game in this one and was all over the field. I can give these guys an A to go right with that defensive line up front.
Yeah, and Munson at linebacker. And for those people who have not watched Kingpin with Roy Munson, the term for Munson is if you know the definition in the movie, it's to be up a creek without a paddle. It's to have the whole world in your hands and then blow it. If you've seen that movie, but no, Calvin Munson is a good special teamer, but yeah, pretty bonehead play there where he got a 15-yard penalty. And again, he's not used to playing defense that much. So the defensive back, I'm going to go with an A for them, even though they let up the 72-yard touchdown to Tyler Boyd that you can kind of fault Byron Jones for. Other than that, there was nothing all day. I mean, like I said, in the last 53 minutes of the ball game, the Bengals threw for 80 yards and 2 interceptions. Dolphins did exactly what they do in the secondary. And Nick Needham gets his second interception in as many weeks. So Xavier Howard gets kicked out of the game. I don't think he should have. But of course, even though he plays less than a half, he still gets an interception. Xavier Howard now has 20 interceptions in the last 34 football games he's played. That is unbelievable. And here's the other part too, is if you count the Pro Bowl that he played in, he had an interception in that game. So he actually has 21 interceptions in his last 35 games. Like this guy can't walk 3 feet to the right without intercepting another pass. So he's got to skate his way to an all-pro season, maybe even defensive player of the year, Paul.
He should be. He's basically outdoing Stephon Gilmore's season last year in every single category. And that includes the eye test. So he damn well should be defensive player of the year. I'm not even saying could be. I'm saying should be. It's unfortunate he got kicked out of this one. I feel like he would have added to that interception total if he was able to stay in. He has gotten so good at baiting quarterbacks to throw his way. I mean, even if you watch game film on him, he makes his guys look open because he knows how to utilize his closing speed. And it's a beautiful thing. And the way he toys with opposing quarterbacks and gets them to throw his way, there is no way in hell an opposing quarterback should sit there and go, yeah, I'm going to throw at Xavier Howard today after 20 interceptions in his last 34 games, or 21 and 35 if you count the Pro Bowl. There is no way in hell. And yet, he manages to toy with them and get them to do so anyway, because as a quarterback, you can't resist an open receiver when you hit them in your progressions, and he gets them to do so. Now, Byron Jones, he continues to play well. Bobby McCain continues to be lights out, and even though we lost Eric Rowe for a little bit in the first half, he continued to come out and show that he is a Pro Bowl caliber player at safety, just like Bobby McCain is.
You bet. And just across the unit, they're incredible. And look, Byron Jones doesn't have an interception. I don't care. Byron Jones is going to lock down his side of the field for every play of the game except maybe 2 or 3 passes. I mean, it's a nightmare throwing against this secondary. And you're right, Bobby McCain, I thought, was all over the field again. Eric Rowe, yeah, he had the injury, but he came back and he still played at a high level. And kudos to Igbenogany. I mean, he gets on the field for 18 plays and he does a good job. And that's what we're looking for, those glimpses out of such a young player. So it's definitely an A at defensive back. On special teams, Jason Sanders 4 for 4 kicking. Matt Hawk lights out punting again. What I think he had 2 inside the 20-yard line again. Didn't have any touchbacks. He's become a master at that, and he should have had a rushing touchdown too. I don't know if we're going to count that, but we should. Jakeem Grant drags us down because I felt like after he dropped the 90-yard touchdown, he just wanted to play hero ball for the rest of the entire game. That could be good, but it could also be bad. I don't want to see him fielding punts like that again in the next game. So that takes it down to me. Jakeem Grant takes it down to a B+. Now I'm going to say an A- because none of that stuff actually hurt the Dolphins.
All right, so before I get my grade, I just want to say make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribing. And thank you guys very much for everybody that's been following us thus far. And Kat, this may be the one grade where you beat me out and went higher than I do. The Colonel was such a critical cog in this game with his field goals. Matt Hawk was just doing everything he does that's got him as a Pro Bowl leading player right now as far as vote getters go. But Jakeem Grant, as far as should have fair caught a few times, absolutely agree. The goofy penalties, not just on the rookies on that rushing touchdown that should have been, but also, on Mac Hollins for his block in the back, for a couple of holds, for a couple of the goofy things here and there, this way and that way. I've got to drop this down a little bit, and that's where I'm at a B plus for the special teams unit here. And I wish the stupidity hadn't kept it there, because overall I thought the special teams was huge in flipping the field in this game.
Yeah. And when you look at, for the year, the Dolphins headed into this game second last in penalties. It was really unfortunate to see 7 in the first half. But what I do give Brian Flores credit for is that they were not penalized nearly as much in the second half. He said something at halftime, and it was probably similar to the same type of attitude that brought him to midfield, wanting to fight players on the opposing sideline. So Brian Flores is a heck of a leader. You listen to a press conference with him. That's somebody I would follow. And I could not say that about the Dolphins' previous head coaches as far as personality was concerned. So we really got a good one there.
Yeah, so, and it's funny because I just want to touch on that real quick with that. After the game, somebody posted a video of Flores going across the field, and 2 things jumped out. One was Brandon Jones watching him go by like, hey, where the hell is he going? And 2 was actually Tabor Pepper, the former long snapper, retweeted the video and put in there that he's not going to make any negative comments about his time in Miami. The fact that he loved Coach Flo, and really the fact that he goes, Coach Flo will pop a trunk for any one of his guys and be there and have his back, which is huge to hear from somebody that basically spent a borrowed year here and still can't say enough good about the head coach and what he will do for his guys and stand up for them.
You bet. And I'm glad that Pepper did catch out on with somebody. He's actually long snapping for the 49ers now. Unless he got hurt, I don't think he did. But he did a good job for Miami last year. I was a little surprised to see them draft Blake Ferguson, who's also been good. So kudos to him, and kudos for that shout out too. So, Paul, who is your Coke Bus player of the game, and who is your player of the game here for the Dolphins?
Player of the game, we'll go there first. I'm gonna go with somebody that I've been critical of at times, and rightly so, because I've always been fair being critical of him. But really, my player of the game, I'm going to give it to Gesicki in this one. He really, really stepped up, especially after the receiver corps got a little decimated by ejections. And I love what he does well. I'm going to put it that way. Like you said on that catch, possibly catch of the year, going over the middle, it was huge. It was absolutely ridiculously huge. So I've got to go ahead and give it to Gesicki on that one. As far as my Coke Bus player of the game, I got to go with Mac Hollins. I'm going to go Mac Hollins in this one, and I like the kid. He had a couple of dumb penalties on special teams that really could have cost Miami. And really, Devontae Parker getting ejected, standing up for his little buddy Jakeem, I'm okay with. Mac Hollins, dude, you just watched Devontae throw a punch. Why are you coming in after the fact and doing it and getting yourself ejected too when you've got your chance to shine with Devontae going out of the game? And he already said everything that needed to be said to what's his face from the Bengals. So Mac, I'm
Sean Williams.
Yeah, Sean, whoever, get the hell out of here, Williams. Yep. I'm gonna give it to Mac on this one. It's you're not good enough to get yourself ejected here.
Yeah, my player of the game, a lot of options. Gesicki, Myles Gaskin, Tua. The offensive line had some bounce backers there. Kyle Van Noy had 3 sacks. I'm actually going to give this one to Nick Needham at the nickelback spot. I continue to be impressed with him, and he's such an underrated part of why this defense has gotten so much better and where it is today. That to take Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, Eric Rowe, Bobby McCain, in my opinion, the best starting 4 at defensive back. And now you add Nick Needham to the mix. Second game in a row with an interception. But more importantly, the pass breakups and the physicality that he's showing in the slot. He's going one-on-one with Tyler Boyd in the slot. who's a multiple time 1,000-yard receiver. So he gets that for me. My Coke Best Player of the Year, I'm going to give it to Jakeem Grant. I'm glad that the mistakes he made fielding punts did not actually hurt the team, because it very much could have. And I've touched on that several times here in the show. So, Paul, before we wrap up, anything else? Has anything else jumped out from chat?
Yeah, we actually just got a very direct question, and I'll throw it to you first. Out of our 3 first-round picks, who would you give the highest grade to thus far? I mean, I think it's a pretty easy one in my opinion, but who would you go with?
Yeah, Tua easily. I mean, judging him by what's on the field, he gets I'd say he gets a B plus. Austin Jackson, I'm going to give a C, right now, just based on performance, but I do see the physical skills, and he is getting better. Igbenogany, it's hard. I mean, I'll give it a D for Igbenogany, very simply because when he's gotten on the field earlier this year, he was unplayable. But Igbenogany also turned 21 just what, 10 days ago. So there's a long way to go with him.
Yeah, and I'm mostly with you. I mean, I'd say Tua easily. I think I'd give Austin Jackson probably a B or B minus because really overall he's done well. He threw a little bit of a stinker last week, but that's going to happen as a rookie. And there were a lot of little things today with Igbenogany that I really liked. But again, he's probably the distant third of the 3. Now, I know a few folks here have mentioned that as it stands right now, Miami's going to have the 9th overall pick in the draft. Any thoughts on where you would go with that?
Yeah, I stick to 3 players, and I continue to hope that at quarterback, you see 4 quarterbacks taking the top 10. That's kind of optimistic, but not impossible, because Lawrence and Justin Fields are going top 10. Zach Wilson, you got to think, is going top 10, and I also think Mac Jones from Alabama might continue to push his way up there, because he's got he looks a lot like Eli Manning did for me coming out of Mississippi, where he's got the just steady, accurate arm, and his feet are getting better and better, and he's going to challenge Kyle Trask for the Heisman Trophy. If that happens in that spot, the 3 guys I continue to look at, really 4 guys: Penny Sewell from Oregon, Micah Parsons from Penn State, Jamar Chase from LSU, and 4th, Gregory Rousseau from Miami. Even though defensive end's not a huge need, I think having a 3-man DN rotation with Rousseau, Agba, and Shaq Lawson would be incredible.
I'm kind of with you. I do love Penei Sewell, but I think he's well out of reach unless he's got a gas mask, even at 9. I think he goes top 5 every single draft I look at, and I don't know if we get a top 5 pick at this point. For me, I'm still eyeballing the same 3 I mentioned on the show the other day. In this order as well, it would be Micah Parsons, A, because I think he's that special, and B, given the players that are going to be free agents next year, and I don't know if Miami gets them all back. Second up, like you said with the D end, Kwity Paye. I think he would be a beautiful fit in this Brian Flores defense under Josh Boyer, and that 3-man rotation, or there could be obvious passing downs where you have on the field at the same time Andrew Van Ginkel, Shaq Lawson, Emmanuel Agba, and Kwity Paye. And they are going to terrorize a quarterback as a 4-man rush rotation right there. And then Kyle Pitts, I know he's kind of in that Mike Gesicki mold, but at the same time, if you can't design an offense that incorporates both of those players, I don't want you as my offensive coordinator.
And Pitts would be interesting. It'd be interesting wherever he goes to. And you see players like not only Gesicki, but like Chase Claypool, who has 11 touchdowns for the Steelers this year. I could see him being that same type of player as him. And It'll be fascinating to see what receivers they pair with Tua, because are you gonna get the faster guys who go over the middle where he has to throw with a little more anticipation, or are you gonna have the giant guys outside like a Pitts, Gesicki, or Parker, where there's an opportunity to really throw the ball up to them? So there's going to be a lot of resources to surround Tua with a wide receiver, tight end, running back, all the rest of the spots here. So that's going to do it for our breakdown of the Bengals-Dolphins matchup here on the FinSide. Dolphins take this one 19-7, improve to 8-4 on the season. They stay in the playoffs as we stand right now, as we go through this difficult stretch of these last 4 games here. So you can follow Paul and I on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and be sure to reach out to us too. If it's not on the right side,